Owned a modified when he was 18 years old and competed with driver Norby Klemp 3 to 4 nights a week. He finished 9th in 1960 Milwaukee area points. In 1964 as a driver, Jerry himself finished 7th in the Eastern Wisconsin Sportsman points in a 1956 Pontiac. Miller Brothers Racing was founded in 1974 when the brothers campaigned at local dirt tracks with a Pontiac Firebird equipped with a Pontiac engine that they purchased from NASCAR's David Pearson. Mike Milius was their driver. He finished 3rd in points in 1975. John Reiser became their driver in 1976. He raced for them until he retired in 1978. In 1979, the brothers stepped up their racing program. They moved to the USAC Stock Car National Tour, racing against the likes of Rusty Wallace, A.J. Foyt, Joe Ruttman. They had Dean Roper as their driver, and with Dean they captured the USAC National Stock Car Championship in 1981, 1982, and 1983. All total, they won 9 races on dirt and a 1982 pavement race at the Milwaukee Mile. The team went to Daytona in 1983 with Dean Roper. They finished 15th in the 500 on their first voyage into NASCAR. Following the July 4th Firecracker 400 at Daytona, the team was able to attend a post-race party and meet President Ronald Reagan. By 1985, Jim Sauter became the driver for the team. They raced super speedway events because they were televised and they paid the biggest purses. At the Daytona 500 in 1988, Sauter made the race, but Michael Waltrip did not. To satisfy a full-time sponsor deal, the team repainted their car to Waltrip's colors, and Sauter was paid by Waltrip's team not to race it. But Michael drove the Miller Brothers car to an 18th place finish. The brothers were also partially responsible for getting Alan Kowicki, his driver of theirs, I got to back up here a little bit, got stumbled on that. Alan Kowicki was a former driver of theirs in USAC, and that helped him get his Hooters sponsorship. At a race in Atlanta, they were offered to carry the Hooters colors on their car since the sponsor Hooters car did not make the race. Hooters was also looking for additional exposure, and Jerry directed them to Alan's underfunded team. Consequently, following that, a party at the local Hooters helped them announce the deal on Jerry's birthday, and that gave Alan his sponsorship for Hooters. Kowicki's future championship team was formed as a result, and after Sauter landed a full-time ride in NASCAR, Rodney Combs became the driver for the team from 1989 and 1990. Sauter returned to race for the team from 1991 through 1994. In 1995, the team built a NASCAR Craftsman truck for none other than Robbie Reiser. During that season, following several good runs with Robbie at the wheel, a deal was made with Chevrolet to put Tony Stewart into the truck at IRP. In one of his first NASCAR starts, he finished 9th. Later that year, Bradley J.J. Miller, Jerry's son, drove the truck at Milwaukee and IRP, finishing 14th and 18th respectively. In 2000, Dean Roper came out of retirement to run Springfield Miles Dirt Racetrack in memory of his son Tony, who was killed in a truck race in Texas. During that race, Dean suffered a blood clot to the heart and died doing what he loved. He was running 7th at the time and moving up on lap 17. Unfortunately, the winningest driver in USAC and ARCA dirt track history passed away. Jerry is active in racing today, helping his son Bradley, who has gone on to become a 3-time Slinger Asphalt late model champion, as well as a Plymouth dirt and late model track champion. Tom is the current owner of the 99 MSA 360 sprint car, driven by Kyle Martin. The Miller Brothers team was always made up of volunteer help, people who donated their time and talents to make the team the most successful national stock car racing team to ever come out of Wisconsin. The team was like a family with all the crew members and drivers over the years. They're still friends of Tom and Jerry today. The Miller brothers have also been gracious sponsors of hundreds of local short track racing teams and events over their years in racing. Presenting the induction award tonight to Tom and Jerry Mueller is 2011 Hall of Fame inductee Mike Elias. Mike? Inducted into the Southeastern Wisconsin Short Track Hall of Fame in 2013, the brothers Tom and Jerry Mueller. I knew how much you guys like music. You notice there wasn't any? Tom and I drove to Arizona one time, and I don't think we played a song all the way there. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to present two really, really great guys and great friends of mine, Tom and Jerry Mueller. Gentlemen.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the other inductees. I'd like to thank all those who voted for us, Tom and I, all the subscribers to the Vintage Motorsport newsletter. Unfortunately, Gibby just read my whole speech. I didn't realize they were going to do that. That's what I started out with. It's kind of ironic that Frankie Heimel and I are inducted at the same time. We graduated together in 1960 from high school in Random Lake. Frankie and I were the two shortest kids in our graduating class. Conrad Gregg and Morgan didn't go to Random Lake High School. Yeah, that's true. Like they call Frankie, little Frankie Heimel all the time. Anyway, 1960s when we owned a modified. My partner was Jerry Hubersack. We had a 34 Ford with Pontiac engine. We also had Pontiac engines. And Norby Klemp was our driver, but it started out with Bob Miller was our driver. But Bob wasn't too good at it. And when we were going to put Norby in the car, he took the car and he hid it for 2 weeks. We couldn't find the car. Finally told us where it was and we got Norby back in the car. In 63 to 67, Tom and I both raced at Plymouth Sportsman, Pontiac again. And we had two cars the first couple of years that Tom drove and I drove. And we sold one of the cars. And Mike Scheller was our crew chief at that time. He helped build the cars. And we finished 7th in points up there. We ran good, but I was in reserves at the same time, so we raced every week. And 67, 69, Tom and I got married, and then we went drag racing for a couple of years. We both knocked each other. Tom married Dory, I married Lynn. And Tom will do a repeat of what Gibby said on the Firebird.
Fast forward to 74, we formed Miller Brothers Racing. And Jerry said, since we were going to be a professional race team, we should form a corporation. In case something happened, we got a family business, we didn't want to drag the business into our racing. So we formed Miller Brothers Racing. And at that time he says, you're going to have to do the bull work, which consists of building the car, maintaining the cars, getting to the racetrack, make sure they're got through tech and race ready. And I said, well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to promote it. So it turned out that I did the bull work and he spread the bull. But later years, when we got to more professional NASCAR and USAC and those guys, his title went from BS to PR man. Anyway, we built the 74 Firebird. Tom Albinger built the chassis, and Dick Cotty did the tin work, and it was one of the most beautiful cars out there. It was just an unbelievable car, and we're so blessed to get Mike Milius to be our first driver. And we had a great year driving. Mike finished third in points in 75. We ran Hales Corners, Oshkosh, De Pere, and Cedarburg. And it was probably one of the, we had a Pontiac in it also, and everybody else ran Chevys, so we were kind of always the underdog, and to finish third was quite an accomplishment, but we had one of the best drivers there was to have at that time.
Unfortunately, Mike's dad got hurt on a farm accident, so Mike had to stay home and do chores, and that's when we met up with Johnny Reiser. And he drove for us for 76, 77 season, and we were like one big family. Robbie and Bradley grew up together, and the kids and we all played together, camped out together, everything else. And in fact, I had a nice phone call today from Alice Reiser, Johnny's wife, congratulating us. That's pretty neat. And, when Robbie went to NASCAR, John Bradley bought Robbie's Slinger cars at that time.
Okay, then we moved up to 1979 is when we went into the USAC stock car, also built by Tom Albinger. Dick Cotty did a fabulous tin work again. With Dean, he was called the Dean of Dirt. He was a masterful driver, very smooth on dirt. Everybody would come out of the corners, high, spinning. Dean would be down low by the fence, just easy on the throttle, going by everybody. He was a fantastic driver. Anyway, we won 9 races at DuQuoin in Springfield. We won the last big car race at Terre Haute, Indiana with Dean. We won the Milwaukee Mile, and ironically, 50 years before we won the Milwaukee Mile, our father ran a Kaiser at the Milwaukee Mile. So we've been into this racing a long time, thanks to my dad. And July 4th, we did the firecracker run. And then in 85, Jim Sauter came with us, and Jim was really liked by everybody. He's a large family, 11 kids and stuff like that, so he's a very nice, personable fella and a good driver. Our team in NASCAR, the first year we went in 84, there was 104 cars tried for the Daytona 500. That meant there was 52 cars in each qualifying race. And we started somewhere back, middle of the pack, we had held back in there someplace. And you had to finish in the top 16 to make the qualifying race. Dean finished 14th. He was one masterful driver, and in the 500, we finished 15th in the 500 that time.
Tom didn't mention Dean liked to party and have a few drinks. The night before that qualifying race, he got in about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I says, "Where the hell were you?" He says, "We got a big race tomorrow." He says, "You're not my mother." And I says, "Your mother doesn't own your race car either." He was a hell of a driver, but he liked to stay out and visit. The big thing was visiting with people. Okay, and and that when we were at the firecracker race at July 4th, when President Reagan was there and everything else, it just happened to be my wife's birthday, so it was one hell of a birthday party. And one Tammy Annette was there singing too, and it was a pretty neat deal. Okay, Sauter drove for us from 85 to 89, and we were a 10th to 20th place team most of the time. It was hard to do. We had a 5th at Charlotte and 9th there. Those were 2 of our best races. Well, yeah, we qualified at Phoenix too. We qualified 5th. That was the first race at Phoenix for NASCAR. And we were running up in the top 5 till the brakes went out that time. We should have probably ran more short tracks back in those days. And 88, when Michael Waltrip, we went through that area where he missed the race, and Country Time had 200 people in the stands and nobody in the race, so that's how we ended up doing it. And Norm B. Ryder, who's here tonight, painted that car yellow with red, white, and blue before that overnight in the garage area. Some of the inspectors stayed with us overnight to get this done. Next day we had all the different decals on Country Time. We kept our route on the side spoilers yet. And Michael ended up, I think, 18th in the race that time. And we were good friends with the whole crew with Chuck Ryder and everybody. And we had a lot of help in NASCAR because they knew we were kind of an underdog. When we did our deal with Yates that time, he says, everyone a pretty good sponsor. They did our motors when we switched to Ford. And I said, yeah, they're 100 grand. He says, per race. I said, no, that's for the year. He couldn't believe it. And Sauter got a full-time ride with Slender U, the pink car, that thing. And we put Rodney Combs in the car. Rodney ran good, but it was still 10th to 20th. That's about where we were at.
Okay, and then we got Alan ran outside Milwaukee. Alan ran our car, and we were actually running. Dean won the race, Bobby Ellison was second, Alan was running third. Well, I don't know, about 15, 20, 30 laps to go. A valve cover stud snapped and it started to smoke, and he black flagged them. Otherwise, we could have had a first and second, or first and third run. Actually, Milwaukee just kind of hurt us for a little underfunded team. And
95, 96, it was getting harder to qualify the cup races. You had to be down south and keep up with all the changes. And 3 and 4 car teams started down there. There wasn't much room for the independents. So that's when we switched to the truck series, which you mentioned Robbie drove for us and Tony drove for us at IRP. That was kind of a neat deal. Tony's a hell of a driver and a good person. After the race that time, we finished 9th. He came around and shook every crew member's hand and thanked them. You know, he's a good guy. And then Bradley ran the truck in Milwaukee. And truck series got too expensive to do too. It came with a lot of rule changes, and used to have just a break in between. You didn't have a pit stop, you know, regular pit stop. They brought regular pit stops and you need a full crew. So that kind of ended our days in NASCAR. And we fast forward to Roper at Springfield.
On August 19th, 2001 is when Dean passed away in a car. And Dean and Johnny Reiser are two of my best drivers that passed away. Plus, I had 8 other crew members in the 40 years of racing, so we lost a total of 10 crew members in 40 years. And the crew we got now is that we had, and we just lost one about a couple weeks ago. Yeah, another one of my members, his name was Tom Mueller, also we call him Disco, and they found him deceased home in his house watching TV. Otherwise, he'd be here tonight too. This time, I'd like to thank all my crew members. Why don't you guys all stand up?
We got Mike Fellner, former Conrad Morgan crew member. Dick Cotty, Norm B. Ryder, Gary Bria, Len Ehlers, Tom Aldinger, Jim Dragage, Dennis Fireisen, Dave Reed, Tim Thiel, and I'd also like to mention their families here tonight too. Wife Elaine, daughter Heather, Jody, and Bradley, who everybody knows, and Tom Pettis.
I'd like to thank my wife, Bernie, for the last 45 years of putting up with my racing. She was also the team scorer in USAC and ARCA and Winston Cup. We had to have a team scorer. So she'd fly down on weekends to do that, and during the week she'd be back help running the family business when I was in Charlotte working on race cars and stuff. I'd also like to thank my son Scott for the time and work he put into it. A lot of nights being a machinist, I needed stuff done. He'd go back to work and do it for me, and he never got any praise or thanks for it. So thank you, Scott. That's your 15 seconds of fame. But also, before I leave here, I'd like to just mention a few guys I got here in the stands. I got my new young sprint car driver, Kyle. Stand up, please. With his girlfriend, Ellie. Kyle's going to be a guy that you're going to see up here more than one time. The guy is a very talented driver. I've always been blessed to get good drivers, and this time the Lord double blessed me. And I've got another friend in the stand here, John Ring. John, stand up. For you people that don't know John, John is the fastest man in Wisconsin. He runs the Bonneville Salt Flats, and he has the most beautiful modified roadster out there. running speed right now at Hills 9 records and top speed at 285 miles an hour. And he is on his way to a 300-mile run this year when the motor decided to go 3 miles instead of 5 miles. But I do believe next year we'll see him at 300 miles an hour. Thank you.
Well, we've come full circle now. We started at Plymouth and we're ending up at Plymouth again. Bradley and at Slinger and Chilton Manitowoc and Tom's team. And I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. And thanks to the Hall of Fame for this honor. I really appreciate it. And support your local short tracks.